So this morning, we're with Lisa Sherry, and she's an interior designer who's now in Charlotte, moved down there from High Point. She's been in the business for many years, has a very distinct point of view. And we're here with her to hope and gain an understanding of her point of view, of her design experience, and then also us, Verellen, as a vendor, what it is that draws her to us.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys about Verellen and the design world.
So this morning, I kind of wanted to start off with this little quote you have on your website, which I just love. And it says, "I'm not leading the life that was laid out for me, thankfully." And, I just, that really resonates with me. And it makes me pull into my earliest memories of the things that my parents may have wanted me to have done, or school, or society, right? And I could have went many different ways, but I went another way. So tell me about the way that you were going to go, if there was a way, and where you're at now.
Um, Gosh, growing up, the world of design was not what it is now. So, my mom was very creative and, we lived in beautiful surroundings. So it was sort of innate for me, but my parents really only understood the world of, doctor, lawyer, teacher, the regular route of, what a career should be. And I had mentioned one time about being interested in design, and she's like, "Oh, honey, that's just a hobby. That's not a career." So, it was very interesting to me. Going off to college and then working in the advertising world, I fell into the world of set design and, did fashion for 10 years and worked in New York and LA while I was living in Minneapolis, and then just kind of by a roundabout way landed in the world of design. There was one of the presidents and creative directors of one of the agencies that I worked with asked me to come to Virginia and build out a town with him. So we worked for several years, doing a bed and breakfast, doing a vineyard, and 23 little cottages that were part of a rental program, and then doing his personal house. Oh, and a restaurant also. But it was his personal house that really kicked off my career. He was connected with quite a few people in the New York area, and also was an avid entertainer. So when his parties connected me with some potential clients, that's kind of how I got my kickstart, and started off in the world of residential interior design.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I'm thinking about everything you just said, and it's like you pulled from so many different locations and places and cities and experiences and industries. So it really makes sense when I look at your spaces, how it's a culmination of that. Like I see a really great collection, like very curated collection in everything you do. Um, the little town that you did, was that like your first experience in doing so many different things and practicing so many different disciplines at once?
It was, and it was also, I think, the most challenging thing after, having worked for, 15, 20 years in a 2D world where it was, print. I had to learn how to, make things functional and usable for clients and for guests, and just to look at things a little differently. So, there were a lot of challenges along the way. And I'm a self-taught designer. I didn't go to school for interior design, but I definitely had great teachers along the way,
Yeah.
and many experiences where I've made a lot of mistakes. And you always learn from those. Yeah, it's great to fail because it means you're challenging yourself. And if you're challenging yourself, then you're, pushing yourself forward.
Okay, so we're getting into some human conversation here. And that's one of the things that I also like in my reading about you, and just in the work and in your personality, knowing you personally. You've mentioned humanizing your spaces. And you just mentioned also having to take 2D to 3D and the challenge of making things functional. And so you no doubt take into consideration the lifestyle and the needs of your clients. And I would say your approach is kind of anthropological. You're learning their lifestyle and who they are as a person rather than just, here's this Lisa Sherry banner. Um, so, how do you achieve those environments with a client? Are there like some initial interview and conversation with the client? Like, how do you take deep dives with them?
Yeah, great question. Well, I'm not a chameleon. I have a pretty clear direction on what I like. I think when I first started out, I had a broader, sense of what I could do for clients, and I could do colored rooms, I could do traditional rooms. Coming from the background of set design, I had to be able to put any period together, put anything together. But as I honed in on my business, I knew what I personally felt most comfortable with were calm, neutral interiors. And so once I honed in on that direction, then it was a matter of, finding people that and clients that really wanted to achieve that same outcome. And so really, clients come to me for that look, which is really nice. I feel very fortunate for that.
Yeah, well, it's distinct, and I mean, I can pick up your spaces when I see editorial. But what I like is you don't. I see a lot of designers that maybe just rely on that one coffee table that they use in 20 different projects, or they rely on that one window treatment that's their signature. And yours, it's not generic like that. It's not. You don't rely on that. It's like your look is just so. It's so holistic.
I could make it so much easier if I did that. My life would be much simpler if I were to use things over and over again. But I like the challenge of, creating spaces that are unique to that particular client. I don't want my clients to, look at, maybe there's a project that I've had published or it's on my website and they're like, oh, I have that same table and I have that same, this or that. I want them to feel individual to that client, how that client lives. And then there again, that's sort of the fun of what we do is, always being able to find those unique items and mix it up and have everything be a little bit different.
Truly providing a personalized service. I mean, that's really what it is. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So in when you're going to, let's call it the proverbial drawing board, what do you find to be your single greatest inspiration or like your muse? Like what is there a thing? Is there a spirit of something? What is it that drives that creativity?
Oh gosh, I think I can't pick just one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have several. Travel is a big muse for me. I really am, I love to travel. I love to get out and see the world and see different things. And, I love big travel. I've been to Asia and inspired by, different cultures. And of course, I love Europe and, I can never get tired of that. But, even as simple as, taking a weekend trip to the mountains or spending time at the beach. Nature is also my muse because my interiors are inspired by nature. I love all the texture that nature provides and the color palette. And then, of course, my mom has always been a big muse because she was my inspiration from the very beginning. The way we grew up, she taught us to use the good china on a daily basis and to, create a beautiful space. And that, it wasn't about, who was coming over. It wasn't about entertaining. She always said, you're worth it. You're worth, you know, creating a beautiful home for yourself, even if no one else sees it. So I always appreciate that. And she's almost 92 now, and she's still redoing things in her house. And I've just always been inspired by her.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I've had the privilege of being to a couple soirees in the evening at your home
Yes, you have.
when you were in High Point.
Uh-huh.
I always remember it would be so simple but so lavish at the same time. And it was like you might only be entertaining 4 or 5 people. And I mean, you're bringing out the Moroccan teaware, you're bringing out layers and layers of charcuterie, and you're bringing out, I mean, the drinks and the light eats and the food. It was like I felt like I was in another world.
Oh, thank you, Brandon.
So I see that come out in that inspiration, I guess, from your mother and using the fine china.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and again, it's more than just, creating a space. it's really a lifestyle that, you know, I do it for myself, and then I want for my clients to experience that too. And people want that, but don't always know how to achieve that. It's more than just putting furniture in a space. It's lighting a candle and you know, having you know, the, you know, appropriate dishes that you entertain with, and just all the little details that are, you know, the holistic perspective.
Well, you certainly have mastery of that. Um, so let's move on to your color palette. In dealing with your color palette, you've mentioned you using a lot of whites and grays and how they help you to see more. And I think that's really fascinating. I've thought a lot about that myself too. So could you talk about that for a bit?
Well, I guess neutrals tune out the noise. For me, I I assume that a lot of people feel like I do. You know, when you work, and most people do now, and even if they don't, if they're stay-at-home moms or whatever, or stay-at-home dads, your lives are really busy, and it's really nice to be able to come home and have what I call the awe factor, where you walk in and you feel calm. And I think neutrals do that. I've seen so many beautiful rooms that are full of color, and I have such a, you know, deep appreciation for designers that can do that. For me, it's not my color palette. It's just not my wheelhouse. I just need to walk into a space and have it feel, you know, beautifully edited and very calm. And the whites and the grays do that for me. And you know, I'll inject, you know, maybe gray down colors if certain clients are feeling like, you know, they need a little blue or they need a little, you know, color in their life. But we do it in a way that's thoughtful and edited.
So I know you do use pops of color, and it's very specific when you do, and it's not overwhelming in any way. And you know, do you have a determining factor when you're looking at a color to use that's popping out of that gray and white and neutral palette? Is there like something that really directs that specific color?
Sometimes it depends on the client. If there's a client who they have a specific color that they really like, hopefully it's not orange or lime green, although I've had that happen before. We sort of work through that and end up editing that out. It just feels a little too jarring for me personally.
Yeah.
But I am drawn to blues, and I think again the blues feel like they come out of nature also, whether it's, you know, blue and water is healing. And so I do like blues. We were just working on a room the other day, and, you know, the client wanted our signature, you know, neutral whites and off whites, but then wanted to add a little blue somewhere. So we found a Moroccan rug that had some beautiful, you know, gray down blues, and she was thrilled. It just, you know, it kind of, you know, gave it that little bit of pop, but then everything else in the space is all neutral.
Um, so you're obviously a fashionista. Anyone that knows you knows that. Um, and you obviously were in fashion and photography. And in my questions here, you know, I mentioned, you know, yeah, my observations is you're always the best dressed in the room.
Oh, thank you, Brandon.
So how intertwined do you think your personal style for fashion is with the environments you create?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's everything. I mean, again, I started off in fashion, and you know, worked as a stylist for 10 years doing fashion before I did interior. So you know, one for me dictates the other. And I think that my own personal style is very classic, and I add modern twists. So I feel like my interiors are the same. So for me, you know, again, having an interest in fashion, loving fashion, but yet it's still very understated and classic. So therefore, that same philosophy rolls over into my interiors, which is the same, you know, using classic pieces, keeping, you know, things neutral, adding, you know, pops of trendy things here and there. I definitely see them as, you know, one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah, when I see you, I don't pinpoint you, you know, your own fashion into a specific trend or era.
Uh-huh.
You're touching on all just these classic, timeless elements, and I see that in your work as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's really about, you know, mixing high and low as well. You know, I'll buy something, I'll buy a $600 pair of shoes, but then I might have, a shirt from Target or from H&M or Zara, or, and same with our interiors. It's really having the eye to see things more than it's about the price that you pay for something. But the quality pieces, elevate the less expensive pieces.
It's very well said. Very well said. So, do you personally think your work is really niche, or that it approaches like a broader audience, and you use such juxtaposed elements in your work, from very soft things to very textural, hard things, very dark, very light, a lot of contrasting elements. Maybe explain that a little bit and how it communicates to either a specific or a broad audience.
Right. Well, I don't want to be niche and I don't want to be broad. I want to, how's that for an answer?
That's
I
good.
want to be somewhere in between. I think that, the bottom line is I want to connect with like-minded souls that like what I do. And I always want to keep myself challenged and look at every project and every client differently. And I hone in again on, the neutral interiors, but it's so, but yet that can be broad within what we do, and the range of what we can do is broad because every client is different, and because I'm not a cookie cutter designer where, I want to look at how the client lives and what their lifestyle is and how they need to feel in the space and how they need to live in the space and make it work for them. That's really important. But really, at the end of the day, for me, it's about having interesting projects to work on. That's always my goal, is just, I feel so fortunate to be in this world of design, and that clients allow me to be able to come in. It's very personal, and to create spaces and homes for them. I'm very honored for that. And I want to do great work. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. So if I'm not challenging myself to, see what's next and to, make it interesting, then I'm not really having fun with it.
I love how you said that it's such an honor to come into their homes. I think some designers in this industry are quite cavalier, but you strike me as someone who, it really is a humble honor to step into someone's really most intimate space.
It is. And, they put a lot of trust in me to be able to, create something that they are going to live with for a long time. So I take that very seriously.
All right, so Lisa, you recently moved down to Charlotte, which is a very cool city, and it's growing. I mean, last time I was down there, I think I counted 12 cranes in the sky. It's like, what is going on? But I see your townhouse in the background. It's beautiful. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the pieces and elements that are there.
Well, I have a lot of Verellen, which is, of course, my main upholstery line. We love working with you guys. I was very excited to move to Charlotte and found this great modern townhouse after living in a classic 1926 Georgian formal house for quite a number of years in High Point. It's always fun to find something that's a little different. So it's brand new, and it's very clean and simple interior. The canvas is just very simple. And it was really fun for me to come in and juxtapose the space. I always feel like, in my modern, or excuse me, in my Georgian house, I needed to make it more modern. And then because the bones of this are more modern, I chose to make it even more eclectic and maybe a few more classic pieces. But as you can see in the background, I have my beautiful gray velvet sofa and ottoman, and a chaise that I live in, and hide on hair ottoman. It's just such a great little retreat for me.
That's awesome. I love the opportunity to see your own space. I mean, it's just, do you have ghost chairs around your dining table?
I do not have ghost chairs. I've got some 1970s vintage chairs around my dining table that I'm sitting in. But my own space is always my creative lab, because I can make all the mistakes and have fun with, trying things that I want to try for clients. So it's, always a great opportunity to make mistakes at my own place, or to, do things a little bit larger, so to speak, when it's your own personal space.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love I see the reflection of the floating staircase. And it looks exactly as you described, warm and neutral, and it's calming. Like I feel like I can inhale and exhale.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I need the most, inhaling and exhaling.
We all do.
Yeah.
So it's no secret, you mentioned it, you use Verellen upholstery in a lot of your projects. Are there specific factors that draw you to our brand?
There are many. Yeah. I think that, yeah, obviously the thing that I love most about Verellen is the partnership that I have. I like that it's not just a transaction, it's a true partnership, and I get to know the people like you that I'm working with. Verellen as a brand is a lifestyle to me, and I feel like you are aligned with the lifestyle that I'm trying to achieve for my clients. It's not just about, the upholstery itself, although the quality is very important. Again, when I spec product for my clients, they're not necessarily seeing it in person or sitting in it. And so that trust that they put in me to make sure that the quality is there, that the comfort is there, I know 100% that I'm going to get that with Berlin, and that's extremely important. But an example of one time I did bring a client into the showroom, I think it was at Market, and for them just to be able to have that brand experience and to see what Verellen is about, people want to just move right in. And, again, because I'm aligned with that organic, modern feeling, it's a great, sales tool as well.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're going to be open now year round. You can come whenever.
I love that. Very
Yeah.
excited about that.
Are you really into a lot of custom work when it comes to the size of your furniture that you're placing? Are you really carving out specific dimensions, and is that something that you see that we can facilitate and other vendors facilitate very well for you?
We do some custom. It again, from project to project. I love that the customization is easy for you guys. Sometimes we might have a very tall client who, needs a certain depth or the back height, and you guys easily transition to, whatever our customization needs are, which is really important for us.
You obviously have a great career. I love your portfolio. I went and researched all the articles you're in. I think they're really well written about you. It seems like you really invigorate people when they're writing about you, and it seems like you even invigorate the lens of the photographers. Maybe you're hand selecting these photographers. I don't know, but they shoot your work really, really well. Um, so where do you see the next 10 years of your practice going? Do you think you're going to stay in residential? Do you see yourself exploring more and more into maybe high-end commercial? Do you see yourself going back to doing projects like that little town? I mean, are you just open to where the winds might blow?
I'm absolutely open to where the wind is blowing. I'm along for the ride. I feel like I'm just beginning. I feel like we're, getting these really juicy projects right now. And again, it's really, for me, I'm not looking to be a famous designer. I'm just looking to feed my soul and to work with clients that are aligned with the design beliefs that I believe in, and that want to create beautiful spaces. And wherever that takes me, I'm willing to go. It's really just a day at a time, but looking forward, it's always about the growth of new exciting projects, whatever size and whatever they are.
So Lisa, obviously 2020 has, I think, made people really think about their interiors more, their environments more, and I think really society as a whole is kind of changing the way we see the future. Where do you see design and the trade going in the next 10, 20 years?
That's a good question. For me, I love the unknown. And I think that there's been a big shift towards home right now with COVID. people are spending more time in their home. That's why, you know, we as designers, we're extra busy right now. People are realizing that, you know, they want to connect more with their home and make it a special place for them to live in. I think that, you know, we're always evolving, just like fashion. It's a little slower, but it's cyclical. I think the Made in America is a strong trend, and I think that's what's great for Verellen is that it's, you know, it's made locally and made in America.
All right, so kind of as a wrap up, I th- I've always found you to be intuitive. I find you to be a good listener. I know we've had some really great conversations, and I've always appreciated it. So, for those that are listening, do you have any like words of advice or affirmation, maybe to design enthusiasts or to maybe even someone outside of the industry?
You know, I'm just grateful to be able to do what I'm doing and to create beautiful spaces. I think for those in the design world, you know, be true to who you are. When I started in this business, like I mentioned before, I, you know, was very broad stroke in the projects that I took on. And I think when my business became most successful, it was when I honed in on what I truly, you know, lived and believed, and that's, people can feel that, you know. So if you stay true to yourself and align what you want to achieve with your values, I think that that's the best outcome.
Well, this was awesome. I mean, again, I didn't want it to be terribly long. I know that you're a busy, busy woman, but it really helps me gain insight to one of our clients and also to a friend. So I really appreciate the time.
Oh, thanks. I was happy to be able to be a part of this. I love working with Verellen and love working with you guys. So thank you.